Finding true purpose in life. And this is something we've given a lot of thought to. The session on mission statement was the first time that we've done that in this seminar. And it's only in the last few years that it's become more and more important for people to have a mission statement. And finding true purpose in life is actually even higher than your earthly mission. So we say we are put on this earth to find our true mission in life. Our heart's desire is you're not put here just to live, grow up, have children, grow old and die. You're here to do something wonderful with your life. It's important to remember that. So we say that number two, every single person has the responsibility to establish for themselves their own personal reason for living. If you read the spiritual books, they always say the great questions are, who am I? Why am I here? What have I been put on this earth to do? And if we're not careful, we'll get so busy doing little things, material things, that we'll never ask those questions. Aristotle once said that wisdom is an equal mixture of experience plus reflection. Experience plus reflection. What he said was that first of all we have experiences and then we take the time to think about what did they mean? What did I learn from them? What effect do they have on me? What can I do to be better as a result in the future? One of the greatest enemies of reflection today is of course busyness, also technology, even worse is television. What happens is we have experiences but we don't take any time to reflect on them. We're just so busy. It's like going through a revolving door that is sped up, it's going faster and faster, and we're so busy from dawn till dusk, we never take the time to just stop, time out, reset, just sit quietly. That's why solitude is so important. You can gain more from a session in solitude than you might gain of working your head off for a year in terms of insights and ideas that can help improve the quality of your life. And so, what is your personal reason for living? Now, sometimes people say, I don't know what my major definite purpose is. Well, then what you do is you make it your major definite purpose to find your major definite purpose. The exercise I gave you, by the way, write 10, select 1, is one of the fastest ways to address and see what, at least for the present, should be your major definite purpose. Because whenever you ask, what one goal would have the greatest impact on my life if I were to achieve it, that will tell you this is your big goal today. With regard to your purpose in life, by using your superconscious powers, what you do is you say, my goal is to discover my true purpose in life. And you just submit it, almost like you're sending an order to a manufacturer. You just mail this order mentally to your superconscious mind and then get on with your life. And it'll work 24 hours a day. And it will often give you an experience here that turns out not to work, an experience there. It'll start to guide you, give you lessons. At a certain point, it will bring you to your true purpose. And you'll recognize it because it will be a superconscious intuition. You'll recognize this is what I should be doing. Now, many mothers have said my true purpose in life is to raise really happy, healthy kids. That's my real purpose now. And there may be another purpose later, but that's my purpose now. And then many fathers, speaking to David Bach, who wrote all the books on how to become wealhy, sold 10 million books. I spent 3 days with him a little while ago. He said when somebody asked him, what is your purpose for living? He said, to raise my son. He said, to be a great dad. He said, that's more important to me than anything else. His father was a terrible father. He said, my job is to be a great dad to my father. So your purpose, your reason for living can change as your life evolves and grows. And whatever your purpose is, or your personal reason for living, when you decide upon it, you'll feel happy. It will be really complete. It will be a superconscious solution. You'll be filled with elation. You say, Dad, this is it. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be something right now. Dr. Albert Schweitzer said his purpose, his reason for living was to help others. And when he was, and Einstein said our purpose on earth is to serve others. What other purpose could there be? So, number 3 is the most influential person in our culture was Jesus. And why? Is because he spread a message of unconditional love. Unconditional love, unconditional compassion, unconditional forgiveness. And many of the churches have, let's say, exercised a lot of freedom with regard to what he actually taught. But nonetheless, the core message is what made him the most important thinker, the most important philosopher, mystic teacher in history. More people have been embraced by Christianity and by the concepts of universal love than anybody else on earth. And so, number 3, there was also Buddha and Mohammed have had an enormous impact. Buddha, 600 million, Mohammed, 1.3 billion, and so on. These people, with their teachings, have had enormous effect on others. Others were St. Francis of Assisi, Mother Teresa, Albert Schweitzer. Someone once said that they never raised a statue to a person for how much money they made, but only to how much they gave away to others. And so finding true purpose in life, you find the most purposeful people who had the greatest influence on hundreds of millions and billions of people in hundreds and thousands of years have always been people who have great love, great compassion, great loving kindness, great patience. Someone once said, you know, that the one thing you can never have too much of is love. I think it was the Beatles who said that. All you need is love. All you need is love. And so it's really true. You can never have too much love. There cannot be too much love. And Emmett Fox says that if you only had enough love, you'd be the happiest and most powerful person in the world. And there is no door that love will not break down. There's no problem that love will not solve. No obstacle that love will not overcome. No problem with people that enough love will not take care of. And so we know that the real reason for living is to love what you do, to love the people you're with, to love the world that you're in. But all love starts from loving yourself, because you cannot give away what you don't have. So the more you love yourself, the more love you have to give away to others. So you only become great to the degree to which you can believe in something bigger than yourself, to which you can commit yourself to something bigger than yourself. You know, it's an interesting thing. I was telling you the story of Umberto, the restaurateur, is Umberto loved serving his guests. He still loves to serve his guests. He just loves it. I mean, you cannot stop him. He's probably in his 60s now. But when he goes through his restaurants, it's like he's the only waiter in the restaurant, because he loves making people happy by serving them good food. And so here's a guy who's literally doing what he loves at an extremely high level. And so you can do what you love in 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 different ways as long as you truly love it. So the purpose of life is to develop and to become a totally loving person, to give your life in service to others, to do something that makes a difference in the life of others. David Bach, multimillionaire writer, his major goal in life is to give unconditional love to his son. And we were talking about these principles, and I was talking about some of the things I'm sharing with you, and he hadn't heard these principles. He knew intuitively that he had to be a good father. He's a single father, by the way. He had to be a good father, but that's his goal, is to give his son so much love that his son will grow up to be happy and proud and have high self-esteem. Now, that's a person who's got their values in order. That's a person who's got their values in order. A simple measure of your being a totally loving person is your ability to develop loving relationships. And the interesting thing about developing loving relationships is that the more you love yourself, the easier and more automatic it is that you form loving relationships wherever you go. You don't even have to make an effort or raise a finger. You sit down next to a stranger and you'll stand up with a lifelong friend. The more you love yourself, it's almost like a light, a warm light that diffuses from you. And as it happens, there's only one person you can control in the whole universe, and that's yourself. And there's only one thing you can control, and it's how you think. It's how you think about yourself and what you say to yourself and the person that you become. But God and nature have designed us in such a way that if you will take that responsibility alone, if you just take charge, everything else will take care of itself. Everything else will unfold exactly right if you love yourself enough. If you could only love enough, you'd be the happiest and most powerful person in the world. So number 7, to become a totally loving person, accept yourself 100% unconditionally, is realize that you've made a lot of mistakes and done a lot of things in your life. We all have. Just let it go. Forgive yourself completely. Just love yourself as a child of God. And if you realize that God holds no grudges, God bears no ill will, God forgives everything. Whether you believe in God or not, it's handy to believe in God, by the way. It's much harder not to, because then you know that you got a clean slate, that you're okay, that no matter what you do, it's like you have a loving Father who forgives you for everything, for every mistake that you've ever made. It's okay. Did anybody see the movie Good Will Hunting? Remember the turning point in Good Will Hunting, the final session, second to the last session with Robin Williams, the counselor, and he's talking about what he went through as a child. And then Robin Williams starts to say those words, which are really at the core of all healing. It's not your fault. Oh, yeah. It's not your fault. Yeah, sure. Remember that? That was Academy. He got his Academy Award for that. It's not your fault. Anything that you've done in your life that you're not happy with today, remember, it's not your fault. The person who did that is not the person you are today, not with your level of knowledge and maturity. If you were to go back to that period in time, you would never do the things that you're unhappy about today. So it's not your fault. Anything you did is not your fault. You're clean. You're okay. So number 2 is accept 100% responsibility for everything that you are and everything that you become. And that is the great liberator. Self-esteem and self-responsibility are the 2 pillars of the temple. Those are the temple upon which you build a great edifice, a great life. You'll find that great men and women are people who accept full responsibility and really like them and respect themselves. Those 2 are all you really need. Number 3 is learn to forgive. Forgive everyone in your life, plus yourself. Remember, I told you about the Mercedes-Benz with the wheel locked on. If there's one person in your life that you will not forgive, it's not that you can't, it's you will not forgive that person, that will be like a lock on your brake and your car will go around. And you'll never really realize your full potential. So remember, forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person. Forgiveness has only to do with you. And when you forgive someone else, you set yourself free. And it doesn't matter what they do or how they react or if you send them the letter or whatever happens. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you set yourself free. But especially forgive yourself. Forgive others and then forgive yourself. Number 4, feed your mind with loving, positive thoughts. Take the time to read really positive material. Read spiritual material in whatever spiritual persuasion you have. Read something that's uplifting. Read something that makes you happy. Read something that makes you feel at peace with yourself. Remember, it's like eating or drinking spiritual food. It nourishes your spiritual soul. And read material that's uplifting and positive. When you read it, it makes you feel happy. You know, reading is very, very important because they say reading is to the mind as exercise is to the body. Just as you exercise your physical body to become stronger physically, you read certain materials to become stronger and happier emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And so a little bit of reading each day, 30 minutes of reading a day and something uplifting can literally transform your life. As I said before, the first hour is the rudder of the day. So if you read something really uplifting in the first hour, it lasts all day long. It's almost like supercharging yourself with a feeling of happiness. And all day long, you're happy and you're more resilient to the ups and downs of the day. You bounce back far faster. Number 5, set noble goals and ideals and work toward them. In other words, big goals, challenging goals, exciting goals, worthwhile goals. Interesting, if you were to ask yourself, why do I want to achieve, let's say, a financial goal? Well, if you answer that in terms of what you would like to do with that money, what would you like to provide for your family, what you would like to do for the less fortunate, how you'd like to help people. If you think in terms of all the wonderful things that you could do that would benefit the lives of others if you had a whole lot of money, you'll probably get a whole lot of money much faster. There was a very famous businessman, I think it was Andrew Carnegie, who died. He became the richest man in America, by the way, and then spent the rest of his life giving his fortune away. And when he died, he never had any children. When he died, he had given almost everything away. He funded or underwrote the establishment of something like 13,000 libraries because he'd been so profoundly influenced by books that an older man had given him to read about success when he was an immigrant boy living in a boys' home. And he read these books about people who started with nothing and succeeded. And he went out and became a fabulous success, incredible story. So for the rest of his life, after he sold his steel company, Carnegie Steel, he went out and he set up libraries all over the country so that young people like him with no money could go and with a card they could check out books that could change their lives. And for the rest of his life, John D. Rockefeller at the age of 54 was one of the richest men in the world. And he was very, very ill, very sick. And they told him he only had about 6 to 12 months to live, and the doctors couldn't help him. And so he should go and get all his affairs in order. And he was very, very wealthy. He had about, he was worth about $1 billion at that time, which was quite extraordinary. So he decided in his last few years of life, he would give his money away. So he set up the Rockefeller Foundation. He set up hospitals. He set up universities. He started to give the money away, and he had a lot of money. And as he gave the money away, do you know what happened to his health? All his medical problems disappeared. And the more he gave the money away and the more he went out and worked with people to help in the community, the happier and healthier he became. He lived to the age of 94 And he was still dancing because he had found his reason for living. And what Carnegie's, what Rockefeller's commitment had been when he was a young man starting as a clerk, he wrote a little thing. He said, my job is to spend the first half of my life making a lot of money and to spend the second half of my life giving it away. And when he had this grievous illness and they told him he was going to die, he said, well, he'd better get started on the second half. And so that's what he did. Carnegie, when he died, they found a little note in his drawer, and it said, God is first, my fellow man is second, and I am third. It's a very famous story, I am third. Is God is first, my fellow man is second, and I am third. And that's the way he lived his life. So 6, take good care of your physical health. That's a really good manifestation of how much you like yourself, is take really, really good care of your physical health. And if you're not happy with your health today, as Shalene was saying, give yourself a year to change. Don't say, well, I'm going to get really fit in 30 days. Give yourself an entire year. And by the time you have changed gradually over a year, you will have changed yourself permanently so you'll always be healthy. If you just diet well, exercise regularly, by the time a year has passed, you will have developed what? Very good habits. And they will have been locked in. Goethe said, everything is hard before it's easy. So the formation of a new habit is hard, but once you've formed a habit, it's automatic and easy. And it's easier to do it than not. So take good care of your physical health. The very act of taking care of your physical health causes you to like yourself more. And as a result, you like other people more. And as a result, you become a more fulfilled person. Number 7, practice the golden rule in everything you do. Do unto others as you would have life do unto you. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And just use that as your standard. Someone once said, and by the way, all the major religions have this as their basic premise. Do not do unto others what is hurtful for you. Do unto others what you would want them to do unto you, and so on. The basic premise of all the major religions has the same thing of doing to others what you would want them to do to you, or not doing what you would not want them to do. So practice the golden rule. And someone once said there may be a better principle for living overall than this, but it has never been discovered. Nobody has ever found a better principle than the golden rule. Just think if everybody lived by the golden rule all the time. What kind of a world we would live in? It would be so profoundly different, like by tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, I want you all get to happy time by 6 o'clock, because you know the world is going to end today. Oh, I'm sorry, it was yesterday. It didn't end. Son of a gun. Damn, when we ran up all the credit cards. Practice kindness, patience, tolerance of the diversity and differences of other people, love, understanding, and compassion. The interesting thing, the law of concentration says that what you dwell upon grows. If you write these words down on cards, kindness, patience, love, understanding, compassion, and just think about them, you can actually transform your personality. There's a wonderful book by Piero Ferrucci called What We May Be, and what he said is just the very act of dwelling upon a quality causes it to soak into you and become part of the way you think. Just thinking about the quality. So the measure of how well you are doing as a human being is this, is you only have love to the degree to which you express love to others. You only have love to the degree to which you can express love to others. If you cannot express love to others, it means you don't have any. And so we say this, practice giving your love away. Practice giving your love away. Because love only grows by sharing. Love only grows by sharing. You can never have more love for yourself than the love that you give away to other people. And the more you give it away to other people, the more that comes back to you. Psychologically, emotionally, physically, in terms of the esteem and respect of others, but especially in terms of self-love. The more you give, the more you have to give. It's almost like a cornucopia, that the more you put out, the more it fills up and spills over. When I started giving this seminar, I had a woman who came into the seminar, and she had grown up in a small town, grown up with 4 or 5 other siblings. And their parents never had very much money, but they were a very loving couple. And they raised them with a lot of love and affection, and she got married. She went away to college, and she married a man who became very wealthy. And she became very wealthy, a very, very wealthy woman. And then years passed, and her parents died. And so she went back home to the funeral and to sit down with the siblings. Her siblings were now grown and married as well. And they had all come to divide up the possessions. that the mother and father had, and they sat in the house, and there were the pictures and furniture and things like that. She said she only needed one thing. She was a wealthy woman. She only wanted one thing, and it was a little sign that had stood over the mantelpiece all the time that they were growing up. And whenever there was a controversy or difficulty or argument in the family, the parents would point to the sign. And so they remember seeing that sign. They said, remember the sign. And the sign was, only one life that soon is past, only what's done with love will last. And this is probably the greatest truth ever known. Only one life that soon is past, only what's done with love will last. Everything else that you accomplish in your whole life will be forgotten even before you are in the ground. But the love that you gave away to other people will be remembered as long as those people live. So as we come to the end of the seminar, I just want to say I thank you very much for being here. I thank you for the time and trouble that you've taken, and I wish you health, I wish you happiness, and I wish you love. Thank you. God bless you.